Murray, who was frustrated throughout the night, and is particularly frustrated with the crew chief, the umpire, listen to me, the referee in charge, whose name is Mark Davis. He, at one point, from deep on the bench, so he's sitting all the way on the end of his own bench, Jamal Murray is, he chucks a towel at the official, just chucks it at him. It lands on the ground right behind him. A ball boy sees it there, races over and grabs it. It's a dangerous thing. If that official takes a step backwards, he's going to step on that towel and could easily, his foot's going to go out from under him, could easily be injured, or any player diving for a loose ball, or any number of things could have happened there. Thankfully, they didn't, because one of the ball boys was quick, saw what happened, and got it out of there. Moments later, Jamal Murray takes a heating pad, something much heavier, and thus it travels better. He tries to chuck that at the official, we assume. But what winds up happening is it slides onto the floor directly in a scrum. There are any number of players are under the basket right there in that moment. There's an offensive rebound. There's Karl Anthony Towns has the ball and is trying to apply footwork, and the ball is kicked. The heating pad is kicked by Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. It hits his foot for sure, and then it slides under the foot of Karl Anthony Towns by an inch. It is an extraordinarily lucky act or lucky circumstance that he doesn't come down on that thing, because his foot is going to go sliding, and we have the potential for a significant injury. He's not even thrown out of the game. They didn't even issue a technical. The official said afterwards he didn't see it happen. Now, this didn't happen in the final 30 seconds of the game, so how no one subsequently saw it and went back and adjudicated it after the fact is one of the many questions I have. But the much more important one is, what happens now? If they had thrown Jamal Murray out of the game at that point, which they absolutely should have, he would be much better off and the Nuggets would be much better off. That game was already over. They were going to lose. If he had been thrown out of that game, you could have said, well, that was a pretty significant punishment. But because nothing happens, now they've got from now until Friday. Game 3 of that series isn't even until Friday. They're 2 games ahead of where the other West Conference series is. It doesn't even start till tonight, Dallas and OKC. So they've got Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to make this decision. So I don't know when they will rule. I was asking Wendy. It's not clear. But one way or another, I don't know how they don't suspend him. If a fan throws an object on the court, that fan is going to be thrown out immediately, and if it is a season ticket holder, they're going to be banned. Your tickets are going to get taken away, and you would deserve it. You would richly deserve it. If a player, like we saw Pat Beverly last week, threw a ball at someone in the stands, an act that was not nearly this dangerous, but certainly horrendous, the world lost its mind. Had they played another game, they got swept in that loss. Had they played another game, they didn't get swept, but it was game 6, whatever. Their season ended in that loss. I think he almost certainly would have been suspended and would have absolutely deserved it. How in the world can a player in the game throw an object onto the court during play and not get suspended for a playoff game? What would you have to do? I guess if you walk up and punch someone in the face, that's a more obviously egregious act. But short of that, I don't know what is. And Wendy said the first thing they're going to do is interview Jamal Murray. And Bubba, the first thought I had was the legendary George Costanza line when the guy says, "It has come to my attention that you had sex with a cleaning woman on the desk in your office." And George says, "Was that wrong? I got to plead ignorance here, because if anyone had told me when I started that that kind of thing was frowned upon," and the guy just says, "You're fired." Because some things don't need to be explained. My kid played AAU starting in 3rd grade. If a kid if an 8-year-old threw something onto the court while play was going on, there would be consequences. The last thing in the world anyone wants is any player, much less one of the star players on the defending champs, to be suspended for a game upon which their title defense basically rides, right? Their season is over if they lose on Friday. They've got one last shot, and that is Friday night. No one wants to see Jamal Murray suspended for that game. But the reality is he should be, and he has no one to blame but himself. This is not one, in my opinion, where they have a decision to make. Mm-hmm. Because if you set the precedent that a player can throw an object onto the court while play is going on, then I think you are creating a huge problem. So that's what I think. Before we hear what Draymond Green thinks, because he has weighed in, Hembo, what do you think?
I actually disagree with you. To say that no one wants Jamal Murray to be suspended for Game 3, I think it's incorrect. Because I think Jamal Murray does want to be suspended for Game 3. I think Jamal Murray was trying to get ejected from that game. How else could you explain? Like, if you're an NBA player and you throw not one but two objects in the direction of an official, what other explanation is there? You're not just trying to get his attention. You're trying to be thrown out of the game. And so, of course, he should be suspended. The fact that he did not one but two things, the towel plus the heating pad, obviously goes a long way in disrespecting the official, which is a no-no, and obviously goes a long way in potentially creating an issue of player safety, which is a no. So, I mean, to me, it goes without saying that Jamal Murray would and should be suspended for Game 3. I'm flummoxed to hear any explanation as to why that would not be the case.
Let me also say that series has been weird. Last night, Mike Malone, in a moment of frustration, early in the game, came racing out onto the court and got in the face of one of the officials. And the only comparison I could make is, those of you old enough to remember Earl Weaver, when he would run out there and start yelling right in the guy's face, and they're right in each other's face, him and the umpire, which is a part of baseball lore, and the manager will turn his cap around so he can get right in there, and they're spitting on each other and they're yelling at each other. Mike Malone does that. He doesn't even get a technical. This is in the same series in which Anthony Edwards got a technical called on him in a close game for looking at someone too much. So I don't know what the hell they're seeing. I don't know what they're calling and they're not calling. I don't want to sit here and talk about officiating, but how can you miss it? How the hell is that not a technical on Mike Malone? To your point, he's begging to get a technical.
Eject me.
That's the reason you do that. Sometimes baseball managers will do that,
of course.
Right? They'll do that in order to try and fire up their team or whatever it is. They'll go out to, okay, I'm taking one for the ball club today, and you go running out there.
It wasn't even near his own bench.
So Mike Malone ran all the way out onto the floor and gets directly in the face of the official, and nothing is called. I still can't believe it. 2 nights earlier, in a close game, they called a technical on Anthony Edwards for looking at someone. So all of these storylines are what they are. Murray and the Nuggets have lost their composure. They've lost their cool.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot believe that he's not going to get suspended. But I've got people suggesting that he isn't. Now, I don't know. We'll see. Joe Dumars and Adam Silver will have to make that decision.